Hi and welcome to the video training of Elixir. In today's video training we will be learning about structs. Structs are extensions built on top of maps that provide compile time checks and default values. Let's see how to define structs. To define a struct, the defstruct construct is used. Let's go to the command line and enter the interactive mode of Elixir. Let's define the struct, defstruct. Okay, let's define the module, and within the module we will be using struct, defstruct name colon John and age colon 27, end of module. Alright, the keyword list used with defstruct defines what fields the struct will have along with their default values. Structs take the name of the module they are defined in. In the example above, we defined a struct named user. We can now create user structs by using a syntax similar to the one used to create maps. If you have defined the struct in a separate file, you can compile the file inside IEX before proceeding by running compilation of file.ex. Be aware you may get an error saying the struct was not yet defined if you try the below example in a file directory due to when definitions are resolved. So let's try user, and we get the values defined in the user struct, that is age 27 and name John. Now let's try to change the name of the user defined in the user struct. So let's give the name Jane instead of John in the user struct, and it has been updated. Struct provides compile time guarantees that only the fields and all of them defined through defstruct will be allowed to exist in a struct. User oops colon field. Let's try to find a field that doesn't exist with the user struct. Oops colon field. Okay, we got key oops not found expanding struct. Okay. Field. Okay. Struct provide compile time guarantees that only the fields defined through struct will, that we have already covered that. So next move to the second slide. Accessing and updating struct. When we discussed maps, we showed how we can access and update the fields of a map. The same techniques apply to structs as well. So if I assign John to user, I'll get the data John. So if I say now the John is a struct and it holds all the data from the user struct. So if I type in John.name, I get John, and if I type John.age, I'll get 27. So now John has become the user struct. Now let's define another struct, that is Jane, and I'm going to use John name colon Jane. Okay, so now if we try Jane colon oops colon field, it say key oops not found, and it gives us the value of name Jane. When using the update syntax, that is the pipe sign, the VM virtual machine is aware that no new keys will be added to the struct. allowing the maps underneath to share their structure in memory. In the example above, both John and Jane share the same key structure in memory. Structs can also be used in pattern matching, both for matching on the value of specific keys as well as for ensuring that the matching value is a struct of the same type as the matched value. So let's a struct and name colon name equals John. Okay, now if I say name, I'll get John because name has now mapped with John. Structs are bare maps underneath. In the example above, pattern matching works because underneath structs are bare maps with a fixed set of fields. As maps, structs store a special field name underscore underscore struct underscore underscore that holds the name of the struct. So if I pass the John object to the map, that is map, it returns 2. And if I say John struct, it gives me user. Notice that we refer to structs as bare maps because none of the protocols implemented for maps are available for structs. For example, you can neither enumerate nor access a struct. So if we assign user struct to John and we say John colon name, we get an error, undefined field function error. Function user.fetch is undefined. User does not implement the access behavior. Okay, now let's try to do it another way. enum.each John function field value io dot puts value end. Okay, we got an error saying protocol enumerable not implemented for user. The point being here is that the structs don't have these methods available with them, neither fetch nor enumerable, which are available for maps. However, since structs are just maps, they work with functions from the map module. So if we use Jane equals map dot put and we pass in the user struct and sign name Jane. Okay, this has been done, and the same works for map.merge. If we want to merge Jane object into user struct and replacing the name Jane with John. Okay, that's done. And similarly map.keys, pass the John and we get the object type, that is struct, we get the key age and we get the name key. Structs alongside protocols provide one of the most important features for Elixir developers, that is data polymorphism. Default values are required and required keys. If you don't specify a default key value when defining a struct, nil will be assumed. So let's say we define a module called product and we define a struct within this module and we call it name. We are not defining a name for the struct send. So if I try to run it, I get the name with an empty value nil. You can define a structure combining both fields with explicit default values and implicit nil values. In this case, you must first specify the fields which implicitly default to nil. So let's define a module user do defstruct email name John and age colon 27 and okay, we have defined the user struct, and if now I try to print the contents of user module, I get age, email nil and name John. You can also enforce that certain keys have to be specified when creating the struct. So let's define a module called car, and let's define enforce underscore keys colon make def struct model and make and end. Okay, now we have defined the car struct. Let's print out the contents of the car struct, and we get make nil and model nil. Okay, that is all about structs in Elixir. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you need any professional help, you can email me at umehmood@gmail.com. You can visit my Facebook page or you can visit my LinkedIn profile. I'll be more than happy to help you. See you next time with a new topic in Elixir.